Hi watercolor students, I wanted to go over this process that anytime you draw something on sketch paper or tracing paper, which we do a lot in watercolor, no matter what the subject, you always want to draw first. Make a big mess, big gesture drawing, and you'll see my instructions for gesture drawing when you get to the fruit and vegetable project. I did this demo just now for my intermediate studio class that was about a flower. Of course, subject is irrelevant. Human, flower, animal, landscape, you know, copying anything, even a logo. It's all about accuracy, and it's also about technique and value and volume and texture and color. There's so many things. But drawing is everything. Accuracy, copying what you see, realism. That's the foundation for any college level program. It's way later that you get into your own style, your own medium of choice. This is the time to really hone your skills, drawing and painting. That's everything. Painting is drawing. Of course, in watercolor we do all kinds of fun experimental techniques, and it does all these amazing things. Every medium has its own personality, and yet there will always be projects where you need to work from direct observation or imagery. Anyway, you'll see the gesture process. It's very loose, messy from your subject. Ideally, you don't use a grid at all, but you're always allowed to get yourself started. But I was showing my other class earlier that the first step is tons of pencil and not erasing, just real loose proportions, measuring. All that stuff that you do, getting the angles to match the image. So many different measuring techniques. But instead of erasing, just switch a different color. Pencil, then colored pencil. I even used highlighter, and then when it starts to feel pretty secure, and this is after a long process of your subject and drawing, you can even use marker. So this is the idea of this is that you can make a mess and then transfer it, even if you don't get all the information in there. This was just a quickie. I just didn't want to do quick study so that I could transfer it and show the technique of the homemade carbon paper. But then I digress as usual, because I think of a million things I want to say. And basically this is, you know, the first step in a drawing. But when you use your watercolor paper, not only do watercolors transfer with carbon because it looks clean and accurate, and it's just a line drawing, but also because paper can be super expensive. It can range from $1 to $100 a sheet. And the thicker and the juicier of the cotton level, and there's so many different kinds of paper. But regardless of whatever it is paper you're using, we don't want a big mess on there, and we don't want smeary pencil in a watercolor. Ideally, you would never use pencil at all. You just paint. And when your drawing skills are strong enough and you feel comfortable enough, you can draw with paint. But since most people are still at a pencil charcoal kind of a stage, it's a great way to do it. Now this way, even if you don't have it all on there, you got the gist on there, and you have your watercolor paper. Now you don't want to get smear all over your paper. So that's one of the things that's a problem with carbon and charcoal and pencil, although all three can be used. You're just going to have to erase a bit, and you'll need a clean white or pink eraser to do that. Fingerprints are tricky. I mean, I already have some here. That's why my favorite carbon paper is the one, they discontinued it on Blick. It's one sheet. It's Lowe's Cornell, and it's waxy, so there's no smear. However, the downside is you press too hard and you can't get the line off. So it's a mixed bag. But if you were to use that stuff delicately, that would be ideal. But again, it's hard to get it delicate, so here's another option. All right, homemade watercolor paper, and there should be a demo of this also on there. You turn it over, and you can use, I draw on everything. This is like my driver's license or whatever, my insurance, whatever's laying around the house, Xerox paper. And you want to go like this, at least over all the lines. It's very tedious. It's better to do with like a 4B or a 2B soft pencil from your drawing class. Or people even use charcoal. There's some techniques on the internet where people put charcoal and then they wipe it with a paper towel and then they flip it over. No matter what you do, it's messy. It's not my favorite. If you want to buy carbon paper, it's ridiculous because they'll sell you an entire box. And if you can find that Lowe's Cornell, Lowes hyphen Cornell, they're individual sheets of carbon paper, and the pack is just a little piece of plastic bag. And it's the non-smeary, it's waxy. But again, if you get it, it's like $3. But you have one sheet, and that's all you need is one sheet. You can use the same sheet for like years. Just keep using it. But they'll try to sell you that really dark black graphic paper. Oh, it smears anyway. So in a way, to save money, unless you can find that one that I love, then this is better. I'm just going to do a little section because I'm going to be doing a demo on here. Sometimes the projects overlap a lot because intermediate is when you really enjoy the medium and you come back and you want to pursue your watercolor skills some more. It's a very specialized medium and rare to find anywhere. And it's very difficult. So the longer you take to learn it, the better you get. Plus you get to build these really cool portfolio studies that diversifies your portfolio. So I don't know where I went off on that one, but oh, because I was going to demo that everything's very similar. So a lot of times you'll see me put an example of me doing something. I have a sharpener for one class and also do it in another, like this technique. And also there's some overlap. In this project for them, they're going to be doing all kinds of techniques that were learned in the beginning. Wet and wet blending, even wash, salt, maybe wax, back runs, all these kinds of things. So when I do these demos, I try to do like finding the image, doing the drawing, transferring the drawing, and stuff like that. Hopefully this will come out pretty good. The reason I think this helps is that it's a very thin piece of paper. This is a, like I said, a Xerox of something, and it's easier to do that than try to get through a thick piece like a piece of Bristol. So when you draw, try to draw on very thin sketch paper or Xerox paper. Usually it's too small though, but I just do a small to demo, but you could also tape them together and use that. But just something light, and tracing paper is great. But again, you don't need a big giant tracing paper pad. Just a sheet or two. And if we do this, we don't even need the tracing paper part. It's just something to get your drawing part done on. Okay, I think that's probably good enough. It looks like I got through. And of course I got so high up in the pressure and I have a marker on the other side so I can really see where to fill this. If you can't see, just fill the whole thing. And some people smear it a little. Unfortunately, I don't have a 4B or a 2B. This is just a number 2 pencil, which is like an HB, but it should work out. See how smeary and gross it is? But we'll see what we can do. Now when I transfer it, and also make sure you always know which side of the paper is up. Watercolor paper only works on one side. If it's not working, you know you got to use the other side. You can use the back for scratch paper or drawing, but not paint. So when it comes off the pad, carry it around so you know it's the right size, just so you don't lose the place. Okay, so I'm just going to flip this. Oh, I have it right. Taping it down is always really helpful, just so it doesn't move. And I will see what kind of a line I can get. I don't want to press too hard because I don't want to get that dent. But let's just see. If this doesn't work, you can check out the charcoal method on there. And if you don't like that, you can go ahead and order carbon paper. In fact, I'm going to look at Amazon and see if they have that kind I like. But it really is kind of the same problem, because it smears this way, it smears that way, and when it doesn't smear like the one I like, it's usually too heavy. Now when you do a couple marks, take a peek. Oh, that looks pretty good. I don't even need to press that hard. Once you see it, and you know, if it doesn't line up, which I think I just messed up, tape it so it doesn't move too much. I might have a little crooked there, but that's all right. The other thing I like to do is use different color pens on top, or at least one, so that you know where you've been. You don't want to finish and then realize you missed a huge piece. But then again, this is not like details. This is like placement, general placement, and you don't want to put so many lines in there that they become heavy. Oh, that was negative space. And then you don't need to, you're not trying to spell it all out. You're trying to get enough information on there to have a composition that's accurate. And if you just had done a grid and drawn it on a grid, you can also do that. But whatever you do, don't trace your picture. That's cheating, plus it's too small anyway. It's just cheating. I mean, if you're cheating yourself. I had a student once, we had a competition for a landscape, and she was really struggling with the landscape. So she went to a print shop, because it was a certain dimension that the picture had to be, which was different than an 8x10 or whatever. So she had it custom printed to the exact size of what was needed for that project, and then just traced it and came to me and said, "Is this okay?" And I said, "No, it's not just cheating everybody, it's cheating you." See, I didn't tape it down. It's going to be a little off, but that's okay. I'm going to try to get it all in there just because I'm going to show some techniques, and I'll probably put this in all of the modules just so you can see. I don't know if I want to do all these, but yeah, anyway, it's like, how are you going to improve your drawing skills when you try to get away with, and the last thing we want to do in drawing is get away with, and ideally we'd never use a picture anyway. You want to work from observation. So I always say, like, the grid is a great way to get started, but when you transfer the grid, it's going to move. And the grid is different than tracing. You're actually learning how to draw square by square those proportions. So that's different. Let me peek. I don't know what I'm doing here. That's pretty good. It's not everything, but you know what? It's not too dark. It's not too light. And you know what? It didn't even come out that dirty. That's not too bad. And I can take an eraser, which is always a good idea, and just lightly erase over the whole thing. Like I got a little heavy right here. I can just erase a little, and that way I'm good to go. And instead of starting out with this mess, I can do this. And now I can focus on actually painting this. So the drawing part at that point is out of the way, but the drawing part is probably the most important part all the time, and doing that loose gesture and measuring. Anyway, that's the homemade graphite carbon paper.